1001, 1002, 1003. Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. I'm Officer Cadet Dean Clark, and I'm here to talk to you about my podcast on how to conduct a Military PFA, also known as a personal fitness assessment. The equipment needed to conduct this PFA include correct footwear, as seen below trainers, conducting a pair of shorts or conducting trousers, and a t-shirt. You'll also need a roll mat, a drink of water, and make sure that the students have fully eaten before conducting the PFA. Now, the PFA consists of three parts: the warm-up, the actual conducting assessment, and a cool-down. To begin with, we'll talk about the warm-up. Warming up and cooling down are an essential part of any PT lesson. This is so they fully prepare the student for the exercises that are going to be assessed, and so they are returned to a pre-exercise state after they have finished the assessment. The warm-up is a well-recognised and essential part of any PT session. This is so it warms the student up correctly by preventing any muscle strains, sprains or tears. It does this in a number of ways: raising deep muscle temperature, stretching the connective tissue, fully mobilising a joint, and improving the body's efficiency. The instructor should think about the following points during the exercise. The warm-up should last between 8 and 10 minutes. The instructor should be positioned in an area where he can see all the students and all the students can see him or her. He needs to be placed in somewhere that is not going to be a distraction, and the warm-up should vary in intensity, building up slowly up to a maximum of 80% heart rate intensity. The actual warm-up should consist of four main areas. Firstly, the joint mobility. This should last for approximately 1 minute and should have the students in a static position while stretching off areas of their body. The areas need to be stretched off would be the neck, the shoulders, the complete arms, the trunk, the hips, and the knees. Varying exercises for these could be moving your neck, any sort of motion, keeping your thumbs in your armpits, rotating both your shoulders and arms, putting your arms out to the side, making circles with your hands, slowly getting bigger and bigger. Moving on to the trunk and the hips, the student can place their hands underneath their hips and rotate their body in a clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. For the lower body, the student may raise their leg and move the lower part of their leg in a clockwise direction, placing their toe on the floor, rotating their ankle. This will then be repeated with their left leg. Moving on from joint mobility, we now have the progressive pulse raiser. This should again last between approximately 1 minute. For 15 to 30 seconds of the progressive pulse raiser, the student should be walking at or breaking into a gentle jog. Finally, they should start increasing their pace up to around 50% intensity. Next, we have the dynamic or functional movements. These prepare the body by stretching off and working at a number of different muscle groups in combination. Again, you will start from the top, moving down. So you'll stretch off your neck, your shoulders, elbows, wrists, trunk, hips, knees, and ankles. Some varied exercises that you could do for the dynamic or functional movements include the following. Squats. The student will place both their fingers across their chest with the fingers and clavicles. Their feet should be shoulder width apart and their back should be straight with their head and eyes forward. The exercise should begin with moving the body down and back up, making sure the legs are locked out at 90 degrees. Again, keeping good form and the back straight and head and eyes forward. Here is a side view. Another exercise you could do for functional movement is star jumps. This increases the whole range of the body's movement. It is as follows. The student should jump in the air, stretching their legs as far apart as possible whilst bringing their arms into motion and touching above their head. Here is a complete motion. The The dynamic or functional movement should encompass the whole body and the whole major muscle groups into the exercise. Once this has been completed, you then move on to the final stage of the warm. This is the increased range of movement. For this, the participant should slow down their rate of jogging or stop completely and repeat the mobility exercises whilst encompassing a more rapid movement of the body parts. For example, if before when you were running you were doing high knees, heel flicks, or shin flicks, you would simply increase the rate at which you're doing that exercise. The same could be said with the upper body. So the students could be doing a rugby throw from the side to increase their trunk movement and encompass the arms. To conclude the warm-up, you may go on to a final pulse raiser. This is to ensure the students are fully warmed up before they partake in the main activity. The final pulse raiser should be inviting, invigorating, and get the heart rate up to an 80% maximum. 80% beats per minute. To do this, an idea could be to get all the students running around in a circle, and then on your command to chase each other, or simply to sprint on the spot, counting down from 10. That concludes the warm-up part of the assessment. Now, moving on to the actual PFA itself. The PFA, or Personal Fitness Assessment, assesses the muscular strength and endurance and aerobic power of a student in the military. It's composed of 3 parts which must be completed in that order. These are the press-up, the sit-up, and an aerobic fitness test, which is either a 2.4 kilometre run or the multi-stage fitness test, commonly known as the bleep test. So, the first part of the assessment, the press-up. I'll now show you a correct demonstration of how to do the press-up. Whilst doing the press-up, you have 2 minutes to give a maximum effort possible. So as many as you can do in 2 minutes. This is the same with the sit-up. For the press-up, prior to the exercise, you should have your hands placed flat in front of you on a mat, in line with your shoulders. They can be close-handed or wide-handed. Moving up into the start position, your feet are to be no more than 30 centimetres apart, and you must have a straight back and flat stomach. This is the start position. To complete the exercise, you must lift your whole body with your hands, keeping in a one straight line, tensing the abdominals and keeping your back straight whilst keeping your head and eyes forward. You must use your toes as a pivot, as shown here. Here is a frontal view. The next part of the exercise is the sit-ups. The demonstration will be shown here. You'll start off in a supine position with your feet no more than 10 centimetres apart and an angle between your knees no more than between 70 and 110 degrees. You place your fingers in your clavicles, keeping the shoulder blades and head on the back of the roll mat. This is the start position. To execute the exercise, you must tense your abdominals, lifting your whole body up into the vertical position and returning back to the start position, making sure your shoulder blades gently touch the mat. You may rest at any point during both the exercises, however you must return to the start position before recommencing. Here is a frontal view. The next part of the assessment is the aerobic fitness test. This must be conducted in 2 parts. Firstly, you have the 800 metre warm-up run, followed by the 2.4 kilometre best effort run, or the multi-stage fitness test, also known as the bleep test. After commencing both these tests, the participant must move on to the cool-down. The reason these tests are given in this order is so that there is no damage done to your hip flexors whilst you're doing the sit-ups in controlled motion, so when you go out for the run you'll not get a slower time. Now we'll move on to the cool down. The reason you go into the cool down is to reduce the body's temperature, reduce the heart rate, it's a good reflection period, and it increases your recovery time. Wrong. And it decreases your recovery time. Now, a correct cool down will have the following effects. It will dissipate waste products in the body, such as lactic acid, reduce the chance of DOMS, delayed onset of muscle soreness, reduce the possibility of fainting or dizziness, reduces adrenaline in the blood. The cool down again should be conducted in 3 stages: a pulse reduction stage, joint mobility stage, and a stretching stage. This has been my JXH 3030 Higher Skills podcast on how to conduct military PFA. Thank you very much for listening.